big dreams and plans. You might want to improve your health or even your relationship. But it seems like everything is harder when you don't have a good night's sleep. Sleep is essential to your physical. You might have big dreams and plans. You might want to improve your health or even your relationship. But it seems like everything is harder when you don't have a good night's sleep. Sleep is essential to your physical and your emotional health. So today we are going to learn what you can do to create a restful night's sleep. To show us how, we are speaking to Julie Schiffman. So let me tell you a little bit about Julie. Julie is a social worker and an international recognized EFT practitioner. For over 30 years, she has helped thousands of clients break through physical and emotional barriers. Her life-changing YouTube videos have been viewed more than 4 million times. There is a reason people keep coming back to Julie, and it's because she helps you get results. You can learn more about Julie at julieschiffman.com. Julie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Always happy to be back here with you guys.
I'm always thrilled to speak to you because you have so much experience, and this is a huge topic. Like I said, it's really hard to do anything when we don't have sleep. But I think sometimes we underestimate just how important sleep is. Can you share why it's important for us to carve out this time to help us get a restful night's sleep?
Absolutely. Well, let's just talk about the factors that impact sleep first, and then we can sort of get into that. There are so many factors that can impact sleep: your environment, your hormones, physical aches and pains, your lifestyle, your diet, extenuating circumstances such as being a new mom and having a baby, having a puppy, or there are people in your house, that just might disrupt your sleep. You might sleep next to somebody who snores. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances, but mental and emotional stress obviously play a very big part when it comes to getting a good, restful night's sleep. And stress can impact on so many levels. Stress, if we are feeling stressed, it can be very difficult to wind down at night. It can be difficult to sleep. And we know physical and emotional stress show up in the mind and the body all at once. You can't separate the two, right? So we have a stressful thought or an experience, and bam, right there, it's right there in your body. And that might feel like anxiety or frustration or sadness or worry or whatever it is. And these emotions are felt due to a thought, right? Either before, during, or after a stressful situation. And suddenly we feel our muscles tense up, our heart rate gets faster, you may start breathing faster, or your breathing becomes more shallow. And stress is inevitable. It's virtually impossible not to have any stress in our lives. And sometimes, obviously, we have more of it than at other times. But when we don't deal with stress in all of its forms, whatever it is, when we don't allow ourselves to process it, it can just live there. It sits there, it ruminates, it cycles, it festers all day long and all night long. And when we're stressed, we know that cortisol goes up. And cortisol is a stress hormone that is actually there to assist us when we're stressed so that we can prepare for survival, right? And normally, after a stressful situation, our bodies are also designed to rest and recover from stress after something has occurred. So if you can imagine for a moment that you are driving in your car and suddenly someone in front of you stops short or slams on their brakes, and that causes you to have to react suddenly, right? And so your body might go right into fight or flight as you react quickly. So your heart quickens and your muscles tense up and your breathing changes, and your thoughts start racing, right? Because you're in survival mode right then, right there. And your nervous system goes right into that position. It's supposed to do that. And after you realize that things are okay, after 10 minutes or so, your body is also designed to settle into rest and recovery, which is also what our bodies are designed to do. And it's amazing how our bodies know exactly what to do to help us in a stressful situation, but our bodies also know how to rest and restore and regenerate, which is what we obviously are supposed to do when we go to sleep at night. And during the day, our bodies naturally produce what we call cortisol, right? We typically have higher cortisol levels in the morning. It gets us up, it gets us out, it gets us energized, ready to start our day. But as the day goes on, your body is also designed for these cortisol levels to drop so that when we go to sleep at night, cortisol should be lower. And the problem is that, well, the problem that can cause insomnia or difficulty sleeping is that when we're stressed out by life circumstances, worry, financial stress, uncertainties in the world, relationship issues, health challenges, or we're just running and doing things 1,000 miles an hour, makes it very difficult to slow down when we are spiked with stress all the time. And so when cortisol levels are heightened, especially at night, it's going to be difficult to sleep because your body is revved up, making it difficult to relax. So the bottom line is that your body is not able to wind down at night, causing restless thoughts, a restless body, and a restless night's sleep. And of course, this is where tapping comes in.
Right. It's like a vicious cycle. You're saying when you have stress, what we need more is to recover. Like if we have a stressful situation, we need sleep to recover. Yet that stressful situation makes it difficult to sleep to recover. So now you're not sleeping, which then creates more cortisol and more stress, and you just can't get out of it.
That's right. It is a vicious cycle. That's exactly right.
Yeah. What results have you seen? You've worked with so many clients. When it comes to sleep specifically, what results do you see when someone uses tapping for sleep?
I've seen that tapping can work remarkably well when it comes to sleep challenges. And the cool thing, there's a lot of cool things about tapping, of course, but one of the cool things with sleep-related issues is that we're not only tapping on the stress experienced in your life and whatever's going on, making it difficult to sleep. But once you resolve that, then you are also resolving sleep-related issues. And so it's a win-win because you're resolving both. You're resolving life stress and you're allowing yourself a form of self-care so that you can sleep. So a couple people that I want to mention, and these few people I do want to mention because I think that a lot of people struggle in the same way with these things. So I have one client in her mid-50s, and she's had many health-related challenges, but one of her biggest complaints was insomnia. And she was only getting a few hours of sleep a night. And of course, this was also affecting her health and her inability to function on a regular basis. She owns her own business, and it was very hard for her to function. And she came from a great deal of trauma in her past, not only just growing up, but also in the community that she lives in. And she has been basically in a state of hypervigilance her whole life, from childhood up until her mid-50s. And so we spent quite a few sessions helping her to resolve her past on many levels, and even helping her to recognize that she's actually at a phase and a state in her life and even in her environment where she is safer than she thinks she is, where she is actually able to relax. But she just needed to release all that old stuff, right? Old emotions, old programs that were running. And she recently reported to me that she now feels that it is safe for her to relax and that she is no longer in a hyper state of awareness all the time. And she gets a good solid 7 hours of sleep. And, again, I think a lot of people sort of struggle and suffer with that. But another person I want to mention, another client who's in her 40s, and she has 3 young children, which, of course, we all know as moms can lead to poor sleep, being woken up in the middle of the night, having to wake up early. But she had a hard time setting limits for herself at night. She really felt like after her kids went to bed, after her spouse went to bed, that it was the only time she had for herself, right? It was the only time that it was her me time. And even though it was a form of self-sabotage, she would binge watch her shows, she would scroll on her phone, she would binge crappy food, just because it was like, woohoo, this is time for me, no one can tell me what to do. And there's something called revenge bedtime procrastination, which we can talk about again later on. But what this is basically is that you will feel crappy and wiped out the next day. And in fact, in the morning, she would wake up in the morning and she'd be so tired and she wouldn't want to get up, and she'd say, okay, tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. I'm going to get to bed earlier. I'm going to get myself on a schedule. And, nighttime would come and she would just continue with these poor habits. So we tapped on all the underlying emotions related to this. And a lot of time it's anger, resentment, and that sort of thing, because it's only, the only time you have for yourself. You don't want anybody else getting in the way of that. And we tapped around all the programs running and all her feelings around setting limits for herself, setting boundaries, and creating a nighttime routine for herself. And once she did this, she really stuck to it too. She was really able to get a full night's sleep, and happy to have created a shift here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's interesting because what you're also sharing is that it's not that if we're having trouble sleeping, we don't have to start with, even though I'm having trouble sleeping, we're actually starting with what's going on during the day, what's going on in our lives that's creating that stress.
Absolutely.
So we'll do some tapping on that in a moment. I do want to share quickly, because I think it's a good example if I could use my own example. When I was like 8 months pregnant, and I was really having trouble sleeping, which when you're 8 months pregnant, like everyone has some trouble sleeping, but I was really having trouble falling asleep at night, and it was driving me nuts. And I would lie in bed and I would just go, okay, clear your mind. And I can do that. I know how to meditate. I know how to completely clear my mind. So it wasn't like I was running a to-do list in my head, or I had these fears. My mind was quiet, but I could not get my body to fall asleep. It's like I could be relaxed, but I couldn't just click over to sleep. And I remember one night getting out of bed and walking to the bathroom and sitting on the bathroom floor and being like, okay, I'm going to tap. And tapping, and it was physical. Like, this is what I love about tapping, is sometimes your brain can't figure it out. It's your body that's keeping you awake. And doing something physical was amazing. And as I started tapping, I got clarity. I'm nervous about what life is going to be like with two. Like, I'm nervous about this next chapter. Even though my mind is clear, my body was holding on to that tension. And it wasn't until I started doing the tapping without knowing what was actually bothering me, because my mind was clear, that these emotions began to come out, and I was able to just to sit and relax my body. And that's what I needed. I didn't need to relax my brain. I was doing that. It was my body just feeling tense and having trouble letting go. So sometimes we can start with the mind and quiet our racing thoughts, and other times we can start with the body. And I think that's what makes tapping very unique.
Absolutely. And what I love about that is that you recognized what you needed. And, it's frustrating when we all know, myself included, how frustrating it is when you just want to wind down and go to sleep, shut your eyes, and just drift off into wonderland, And it's not always the case. But what I love is that you were able to just listen to your body, get yourself out of bed, and start tapping on just whatever was coming up for you. And as you said, once you started tapping, you started to have these thoughts or these fears around what's life going to be like, or, whatever those emotions were. And you were really in touch with that. And you just allowed yourself to flow with it. And that's what's so important about tapping. Anyone can follow along with these meditations, and which I think is really important, and, it's very helpful for people. But really, the bottom line is listening to yourself and what you need, what's coming up for you, what are the emotions that are surfacing for you, what are the thoughts that are showing up for you, what are the thoughts around your emotions, and then you tap on those things. So I love that you were able to do that and get those results, right? Because then you probably got back into bed and fell right to sleep.
Yeah. And the point I want to make too is sometimes we don't know what's keeping us awake. And it's frustrating because you're like, why is this such a problem? When we start tapping and we release the stress, it's like we create this space for us to begin to listen to ourselves. Because I wasn't listening to myself before. I was trying, I thought I was, but I couldn't until my body was calm. And so with that, that's why it's a great place to start, is just overall stress, just where we are, and kind of quiet that anxiety noise. And I would love to do some tapping.
Let's do some tapping. So, whether or not, right, this interview will run for a period of time, and of course, you can purchase it afterwards so that you have it. But even if you're not tired right now, is my point. Even if it's not time to go to bed, follow along with this so that you can get an idea of how you can tap before you go to bed. So just connect with yourself and just getting back into your body. Take a big, deep breath in. And one of the things you can do, but of course, when it comes to sleep, you don't always have to I always say you don't always necessarily have to check the intensity. Is it higher or lower? You're just going to recognize it. And the bottom line is you just want to be able to drift off. So you don't have to pay too much attention to the number here, but just connect with your body here. So we're going to start tapping on the side of the hand. It's time for bed.
It's time for bed.
And I'm open to relaxing now.
And I'm open to relaxing now.
I'm getting ready to settle down for the night.
I'm getting ready to settle down for the night.
Preparing my mind and my body to relax.
Preparing my mind and my body to relax.
To fall asleep easily and effortlessly.
To fall asleep easily and effortlessly.
It's time for bed.
It's time for bed.
And even though my mind and body may be racing.
Even though my mind and body may be racing.
Feeling revved up.
Feeling revved up.
I'm open to feeling calm and centered.
I'm open to feeling calm and centered.
In my mind and body right now.
In my mind and body right now.
It's time for bed.
It's time for bed.
It's time for bed.
It's time for bed.
It's time for me to wind down.
It's time for me to wind down.
And relax my body.
And relax my body.
And I'm just noticing the thoughts that might get in the way.
And I'm just noticing the thoughts that might get in the way.
Of pure relaxation.
Of pure relaxation.
I'm just noticing the stress in my mind.
I'm just noticing the stress in my mind.
And the stress in my body.
And the stress in my body.
And I'm just watching it go by.
And I'm just watching it go by.
I'm not attaching myself to anything.
I'm not attaching myself to anything.
It's time to wind down now.
It's time to wind down now.
And I'm just noticing any tension in my body.
And I'm just noticing any tension in my body.
The tight muscles.
The tight muscles.
My breathing.
My breathing.
My thoughts.
My thoughts.
As I release the day from my mind and my body.
As I release the day from my mind and my body.
I'm getting comfortable in my body.
I'm getting comfortable in my body.
I'm safely beginning to let go.
I'm safely beginning to let go.
Relaxing and unwinding.
Relaxing and unwinding.
My eyes are getting tired.
My eyes are getting tired.
I'm breathing in relaxation.
I'm breathing in relaxation.
As I let go of the day.
As I let go of the day.
My eyes are ready to close, feeling drowsy or droopy.
My eyes are ready to close, feeling drowsy or droopy.
I'm feeling more relaxed.
I'm feeling more relaxed.
My thoughts are quieting down.
My thoughts are quieting down.
There's nothing more I need to do today.
There's nothing more I need to do today.
Everything else waits until tomorrow.
Everything else waits until tomorrow.
My lungs are breathing.
My lungs are breathing.
My air passages are open.
My air pathogens are open.
I'm regenerating my body for the night.
I'm regenerating my body for the night.
There's an inner calm washing over me.
There's an inner calm washing over me.
Imagining walking down a set of stairs.
Imagining walking down a set of stairs.
One at a time.
One at a time.
Going down slowly.
Going down slowly.
The day is behind me.
The day is behind me.
There's nothing more to think about.
There's nothing more to think about.
My body is beginning to rest now.
My body is beginning to rest now.
As I release all the inner tension.
As I release all the inner tension.
My thoughts are far away.
My thoughts are far away.
Floating away from me.
Floating away from me.
I feel a calming sensation wash over me.
I feel a calming sensation wash over me.
Stress is just washing away.
Stress is just washing away.
My muscles are relaxed.
My muscles are relaxed.
As I release worries and concerns.
as I release worries and concerns.
My whole body feels light and calm.
My whole body feels light and calm.
As I provide myself with some loving care.
As I provide myself with some love and care.
By getting a good night's sleep.
By getting a good night's sleep.
My mind is at rest.
My mind is at rest.
I am ready for a peaceful, relaxing sleep.
I'm ready for a peaceful, relaxing sleep.
And on the top of your head, and so it is.
And so it is.
Take a big deep breath in. And let it out.
Julie, you're making it very difficult to continue this interview.
I know. I was just thinking, like, we have so much more to talk about here. But gosh, I'm so tired now. I'm ready to drift off.
Oh, that was wonderful. And we will have this in the workbook so people can come back to this again and again.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention, like, I personally, I can't lie down and do the tapping before bed. Like, some people do, and they have great results. I find that I have to, like, either be sitting up and then lie down or be somewhere else, like if it's late at night, because it's like, it's still a little bit stimulating to tap. Not, you know what I mean? And then I'm able to drift off. And I mention that because I want people to experiment with this to figure out where in the nighttime routine can they do this to really wind down. And for me, it's like right before getting into bed.
Interesting. And I think you're right. I just recently ran a program on sleep. I had a big group of people on this. And it was interesting because I asked people the best time that they felt, but what was the best time for them to tap? And some people said they did it right before bed and they were fine. And other people said they found it a little bit more stimulating because, you're moving your body around a little bit. And so some people would do it an hour before bed. I like to do it an hour before bed. That works best for me. Some people would like to lay in bed and do it in bed. There's so many different ways to tap when it comes to tapping for sleep and winding down and winding your body down. And, as you said, you just want to experiment with it a little bit. I had someone else who she would have a chair right next to her bed. She didn't want to get up and walk too far away because she thought that would wake her up a little bit. And so she would just get up and sit in the chair next to her bed. And then she would come back and get into bed. So you play around with it and see how it works for you. It's a great point.
Yeah. It's so important to have a time to wind down, right? I don't think we're supposed to go from even watching TV to running around to suddenly being like, okay, let me just tell my body, let's sleep now. It's like your body, it's like as a mom, your mom, with kids, you don't just have your kids run around and just stick them in bed. There's a reason that you're
That's right.
Right? There's a reason that there's a process, there's a bedtime routine, and we need a bedtime routine. Now, what tends to happen, you mentioned, is we just keep putting it off, and then it gets really late, and now we're rushing to brush our teeth, and we're annoyed with ourselves that it's gotten so late, and then we just get into bed quickly, and then wonder why we're not falling asleep, and we can get frustrated.
That's right.
So let's talk a little bit about that sabotage that you mentioned that kind of leads to that rushing to get into bed because it's gotten so late.
Absolutely. And, I think it's important, too, what I would love to talk about, and we can come back to it, but is talking about that nighttime routine and things that we can do to create a good routine for ourselves. But let's talk about the sabotage first, because we need to release the sabotage before we can create the routine. So I think this is a really good segue for that. It can be easy to sabotage ourselves, even when we want to make important decisions in our lives, when we want to make important changes in our lives. Some people want to lose weight, but they sabotage that by eating foods that they know are bad for them, right? Or others want to move up in their jobs or succeed in a relationship, and then they do something to sabotage it. And so I think we all know what it feels like to sabotage in some way. And in this case, there's something I mentioned before called revenge bedtime procrastination, which is actually really a thing, and I just learned about it recently. But I can't begin to tell you how many clients I've had that, that fall under this. And it's a so-called psychological phenomenon where you want time for yourself once you are done working, once you're done taking care of other people, taking care of your children, meeting others' expectations or your expectations of the day. And you've been so busy that you really haven't had time for yourself. So you want this time for you, right? You want a time to decompress. You want a time to escape. And who doesn't, right? I mean, everyone deserves that. We all have, we all want that. But what happens is you know that it's going to feel bad the next day, but you keep watching TV until you pass out, or you're scrolling on your phone, until all hours. Or maybe you just sit in your kitchen and eat junk food. You just will do anything to avoid ending the day because it's your time. And you may say that you want to change the pattern or create a new habit. And you keep telling yourself, tonight's the night I'm going to do this. And then, you wake up, you go to bed late, you wake up, you're tired, you're hitting the snooze button, and you realize, oh my God, why do I keep doing this? And your mind is telling you one thing, but there's a part of you that can't control your actions, right? Or seemingly can't control your actions because there's this other part sort of playing in the background, which is, your subconscious mind. And we would never choose to sabotage ourselves, right? We don't wake up in the morning and choose to sabotage ourselves, but yet here we are doing it again. And then the next day and the next day and the next day. And then, guilt enters into the picture, and then there's a lot of shame around it, and a lot of anxiety comes in. And the reason for self-sabotage is almost always a program running, as I was saying, in your subconscious mind, which is a part of you that needs some form of protection. Protection from feeling bad, protection from feeling good. Change might not feel safe, or success may not feel safe. Failure doesn't feel safe either. That's for sure. So let's talk about a few things that we can do to avoid this, and then we can tap on this. If you want to, this is a good thing to tap on. Yeah. Okay. So I want people to just connect with that moment where you make a decision. When you're making that decision to stay up longer, you have a choice between point A and point C, and there's a space in between there, right? There's a space between the thought and the action. And what are you going to do with that space? So if you decide that you want to be in bed, lights out at 10 o'clock or whatever time you choose for you, something needs to happen at that time. You need to take some sort of action, right? So whether it's turning off the TV, whether it's dimming the lights, whether it's taking a bath, whatever it is. But if you find yourself saying things like, oh, I'm not tired yet, or I don't want to go to bed yet, or this show is so good, I'm just going to stream another show, or this is the only time I have for me, it's my only time for peace and quiet. Don't tell me what to do. That's a big one. There's like this voice that says, don't tell me what to do. I'll go to bed when I want to go to bed, And so if you notice that you are, sort of saying these things to yourself, another one is also, I'm going to wait until my partner is asleep. People who don't want that pressure of being intimate at night. That can also be a big piece too for staying up late. But if you have these thoughts, chances are that there's some emotions driving it. And so you just want to pay attention to what you think these thoughts might be. And as I said before, many times there's anger, resentment driving it, there's fear driving it, that sort of thing. And so you just want to pay attention to that. And then, of course, we can tap. When we're not able to just make that decision of say, okay, right now's the time, I'm going to turn off the TV and jump into bed, make a conscious decision, set an alarm on your phone that says, at 9 o'clock, that says, okay, time to wind down, or time to relax now. And then you can set time up to tap, or you can, take a bath, or you can meditate, or whatever you want to do, whatever works for you in terms of winding down. But as you said, Jess, you want that time. There's a reason when we put our kids to bed, right, that there's a bath, and then there's quiet time, and then there's, getting in the pajamas, and maybe reading a book and snuggling at night. There's a process, right? And so we want to be able to do that for ourselves as much as we do that for the people we love and care about. So we can go ahead and tap on that.
Yes, I would love to do that.
So take a big deep breath in. Out, and when you're ready, we're going to tap on the side of the hand. Even though I refuse to go to bed earlier.
Even though I refuse to go to bed earlier.
I just won't do it.
I just won't do it.
There's a part of me that wants to get more sleep.
There's a part of me that wants to get more sleep.
But this is the only time for me.
But this is the only time for me.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
And I'm open to shifting this pattern.
And I'm open to shifting this pattern.
Even though I would love to get more sleep.
Even though I would love to get more sleep.
But nighttime comes.
But nighttime comes.
And it's me time.
And it's me time.
Sleep is last on the list.
Sleep is last on the list.
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
And I'm remembering all of my goals.
And I'm remembering all of my goals.
Even though this is a form of self-sabotage.
Even though this is a form of self-sabotage.
I accept that this has been a pattern for me for a long time.
I accept that this has been a pattern for me for a long time.
And I'm a creature of habit.
And I'm a creature of habit.
I'm ready to let it go.
I'm ready to let it go.
Once and for all.
Once and for all.
And accept the points. I won't go to bed.
I won't go to bed.
I have things to do.
I have things to do.
I would rather watch TV.
I would rather watch TV.
Do things for me.
Do things for me.
I just want to escape.
I just want to escape.
This is the one time I have for me.
This is the one time I have for me.
The house is finally quiet.
The house is finally quiet.
And I may tell myself.
And I may tell myself.
Tonight's the night I go to bed earlier.
Tonight's the night I go to bed earlier.
And then I don't.
And then I don't.
Every night is the same old pattern.
Every night is the same old pattern.
And when it's time to wake up in the morning.
And when it's time to wake up in the morning.
I'm dead tired.
I'm dead tired.
I'm groggy and can't function.
I'm groggy and can't function.
And the cycle continues.
And the cycle continues.
All this frustration with myself.
All this frustration with myself.
The guilt and the shame.
The guilt and the shame.
I just get in my own way.
I just get in my own way.
I want time to myself.
I want time to myself.
And I need time to myself.
And I need time to myself.
I need to decompress and chill out.
I need to decompress and chill out.
And I honor all of my feelings about this.
And I honor all of my feelings about this.
Of course I need me time.
Of course I need me time.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
But I also need time to sleep.
But I also need time to sleep.
I need time to regenerate.
I need time to regenerate.
Perhaps there's a rebellious part of me.
Perhaps there's a rebellious part of me
that refuses to go to sleep.
That refuses to go to sleep.
Like when I was a child.
Like when I was a child.
Perhaps I didn't want to go to bed.
Perhaps I didn't want to go to bed.
I didn't want to miss out on all the fun.
I didn't want to miss out on all the fun.
I don't want to go to bed.
I don't want to go to bed.
And you can't make me.
And you can't make me.
But I'm open to making some changes that work for me.
But I'm open to making some changes that work for me.
Because this isn't working anymore.
Because this isn't working anymore.
I'm so tired.
I'm so tired.
I deserve to have time for me.
I deserve to have time for me.
And I deserve to get some sleep.
And I deserve to get some sleep.
I forgive myself for creating a habit that feels bad.
I forgive myself for creating a habit that feels bad.
It feels so good in the moment.
It feels so good in the moment.
It's time to make myself and my health a priority.
It's time to make myself and my health a priority.
I forgive myself for making some choices.
I forgive myself for making some choices
that have not been in my best interest.
That have not been in my best interest.
I forgive myself for ignoring my own needs.
I forgive myself for ignoring my own needs.
While indulging in other ways.
While indulging in other ways.
I'm ready for a change.
I'm ready for a change.
It's time that I show up for myself.
It's time that I show up for myself.
And I'm ready to release these patterns that no longer serve me.
And I'm ready to release these patterns that no longer serve me.
I'm making new commitments to myself.
I'm making new commitments to myself.
And I'm moving forward with new habits.
And I'm moving forward with new habits.
I'm worth it.
I'm worth it.
I am motivated to make a change.
I am motivated to make a change.
I'm motivated to get a good night's sleep.
I'm motivated to get a good night's sleep.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
My body's ready.
My body is ready.
On the top of your head, peace.
Peace.
Take a big deep breath in. job.
Thank you.
And that's just a good thing to do when you feel like you're really fighting it. You're feeling like, oh, I know I got to go to sleep, but gosh, I just can't do it, and make that time for yourself, because as you said, it just creates a space for creating something new.
Yeah. And I find with something like this, it's not that you have to tap on it every night. It's like you tap on it a few times and then you tend to get it quickly, because sometimes I think for many of us, we're sabotaging ourselves unconsciously. Like we don't even know we're sabotaging ourselves. We're just like, oh, it's late. Oh no. And we're rushing, we're running this. There's like not consciousness around it.
Sure.
We're just feeling frustrated. So just having this conversation and doing some tapping, it's like we're rewiring our brain to look at that time differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why it's important to create a routine, and once you have a routine in place, then you can, you're setting yourself up just like you would set yourself up for your day when you wake up in your morning. For people who wake up and they've got their to-do list, or they've got their calendar, or the things that they do, meditation, tapping, whatever your day looks like, right? You've made a plan, and creating a routine is creating a plan to succeed with sleep.
Yeah. And this self-sabotage, it's not like watching TV is sabotaging ourselves. It's watching too much TV. It's not that taking care of ourselves and having alone time is wrong. It's that it suddenly gets so late because we've been scrolling for so long. That's when it gets, we keep talking about kids, and it's like, I have a 3-year-old, so bedtime is like always a thing. And I have to use the timer on my phone to be like, you can play, because he wants to play before bed. It's like, okay, you can play, but we have a timer. When the timer goes off, we're done playing. It's like, we need these strategies for ourselves as an adult.
We need those strategies. Absolutely. That's why I was saying, put a timer on your phone and say at 10 or 9 o'clock, this is when I'm going to start winding down. It's even set a timer on, on Netflix or something. You want to create boundaries for yourself. Sometimes we need that. We need to create some boundaries for ourselves as a form of self-care, not as a punishment, not as you can't do this anymore. This is how I take care of myself.
Yeah. Well, and the focus is, when I'm telling him you get this much time to play, it's not, the focus isn't on the timer. The focus is on it's time to play. Yeah. So it's like at nighttime, it's time to watch TV if that's what we want to do. It's time to read if that's what we want to do. It's time to scroll if that's what we want to do. But like you said, finding freedom within the boundaries.
Right. And there's a beginning and an end to everything. Yeah. Right? There's a beginning and an end. So just making sure that you make that end time.
Isn't it funny? We're just big adult toddlers when it comes to bedtime. We're like, we haven't changed that much. We just don't have our mom setting the boundaries, so we have to do it ourselves.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about it, I remember even when I was a kid, I would run out of my room 1,000 times. Can I have another glass of water? Can I get one more hug? Can I get one more? And, your parents are like, oh, my God, go to bed already. But you're right. We're like adult toddlers. It's so funny.
So let's talk about some other things within that routine, creating those boundaries. What are some other things that we can do to really wind down and have a successful night's sleep?
Sure. So, as we talked about, sleep is essential for being successful in your life and in your body and for good health. It's just important. And I actually just read somewhere, I just want to, as a side note, I just read somewhere that, I don't even remember who said it, but they said, they wish people would stop talking about how important sleep is, because for people who have anxiety, it creates more anxiety for them when they can't sleep. And even though there's some truth to that, right? I mean, there's definitely some truth to that. And, if we have a chance, we can even talk about that a little bit more, the anxiety we have about sleep. But the bottom line is sleep really is essential. It just is. And so as we talked about, a routine is important. And so what I tell people is to work backwards from what time you want to be in bed with the lights out. It's better to work from that time frame than to start from, earlier in the evening, so that like when you're done, you already have an idea. 10 o'clock, that's the time I want lights out or whatever. And research has shown that if we get to sleep between 10 and 11, we're bound to get a better night's sleep. So that's why I say that time frame, but everybody knows obviously what is best for them. So the few things that I want to mention is to try to be finished with your meals. Try to be finished with dinner 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. And this way your body does have an opportunity to rest, and it doesn't spend too much time while you're sleeping digesting your food, which can create, you can get up and go to the bathroom 1,000 times, which is, another big interrupter of sleep. So you want to try to do that. I'm sure everyone has heard this before. This isn't going to be new to anyone, but turn off electronics at least an hour before you go to bed. It's super important, right? Because when we're on our computer, we're on our phone, um, our mind's just jumping all over the place. I mean, we're just all over the place. And not only that, but we are just staring into one big flashlight. And that really makes it hard for our brain to wind down, for our eyes to wind down. If you're going to do those things, wear blue light glasses. That's, a whole different, we could talk about that another time. But it's important to wind down. And when you come off your phone and your computer and that sort of thing, it allows, in your quiet, it allows your body to produce melatonin, which is what we need to wind down and go to sleep. You want to dim the lights in the room. This will also help you to wind down and prepare for sleep. It'll help your body to understand that this is what's happening. And don't watch disturbing TV or news before you go to bed, because this can really rev up your worried thoughts, your mind. You really want to create a time to create some sort of quiet if you can. You want to create an environment that is best for you when you sleep. So if you like your room cooler, you like it warmer, make sure you set that up ahead of time, whatever feels best for you. Again, you're setting yourself up for success here. And do what you can to relax your mind and body. And some suggestions could be a bath, visualization, breath work, meditation, and of course you and I, our priority is going to be tapping, right? I mean, that's number one. And so, of course, the tapping solution I know has a ton of great meditations for sleep and that sort of thing. And so people will want to check that out. And also, there's something called a brain dump. And this is something that I think it's pretty incredible. I think it's amazing, especially for people who are worriers or they have like a list running a mile long around what they need to do with their day. And, your mind just keeps going. And so a brain dump is, you just take a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. It's super easy, super simple. And just sit down a little bit before bed and write down all the things. Just write down all the things that you're thinking, all the things that you're worried about, your to-do list. Anything that has you wired up and revved up, you just want to get it out. Which is why we call it a brain dump. And it doesn't have to be formal. You don't have to worry about your handwriting. If you want, you can have a journal for it. But when I do it, I just rip it up and throw it away. And sometimes I'll even tap on it. You can go through and tap on the things that you've written down in your brain dump and just go through and tap. And you just want to get it out so that your brain isn't still working while you're sleeping and it's not waking you up at 2 or 3 in the morning. So a brain dump is a really, really good thing to do before bed. Create a schedule for yourself so that you can get done with the things that you want to do during the day and also have time for yourself at night. And most importantly, as we said, prepare for your sleep as you would prepare for your day. You just want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success.
A good day starts with a good night.
Absolutely.
Right? You want a good next day, it starts the day before.
Right.
I love the brain dump suggestion because I often hear people say, I just don't know what to say when it comes to tapping, or I don't know what to focus on. And suddenly you're doing this brain dump and you're literally looking at the words that you can just say to yourself while you tap to get them out of your system and to just not have charge with those words. So that's a great strategy. You mentioned too, having a time when you're off your phone and your computer. And I think it's important to mention that if someone's listening and going, I just really have a hard time putting my phone down, it is designed to be difficult to put down. Like your computer, everything around us is designed to capture our attention. And so if you find yourself scrolling too long on social media, it's designed to do that. So it's it's not easy. It's you have to really create that time where you go, no, I'm done. And it takes a little bit of effort because these things are designed to just capture our attention all night. I think it's good to mention that because someone is like, oh, I'm just bad at it, or I just have a hard time. And it's like, yes, of course. Right. Because they put millions of dollars into researching how to make it so that you don't want to look away.
Such a good point. Yeah.
That's what we're up against. So we do have to really have those boundaries.
Self-discipline. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned, and we only have a few more minutes, but I think it's important to just spend a little time on this. First, when you have trouble sleeping for a long time, what tends to happen is suddenly the sun starts going down and you're like, what is tonight going to be like? there is this stress of like, will I sleep or will I not sleep? And that does create a lot of tension. You mentioned people saying, don't tell everyone sleep is important because they're stressing out more about it, but it is important, and we do have to address this stress around it. So can you touch upon that?
Absolutely. So what happens is, as you said, and I actually had a client who, a gentleman who was suffering with insomnia, and we did a ton of work around it, and then he started sleeping well. But he had PTSD from not being able to sleep. I mean, he only slept a few hours a night. And what happened is he started having so much anxiety, even though he was sleeping up to 7 and 8 hours a night. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. He was so excited about it. But he started to have anxiety every night before going to sleep because of his past. And every night he was afraid he was going to go back. He was going to go back. He wasn't going to be able to sleep. So it's really important to address if you have anxiety about going to sleep. And once I addressed this with this particular client, we tapped on all the emotions and the feelings around it. And finally, he was able to get rid of that anxiety around sleep. But it's a real thing. You know, people do really get anxious about it. And so if you're able to do some tapping, I don't know if we have time to do it now. We can if you want. But
let's do something short.
Okay.
And then we're going to do a longer tapping script within the workbook that people can refer to.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So everyone, just pay attention to that anxiety before you go to bed at night. And especially if you consider yourself, you might call a poor sleeper, if it's become part of your identity, you want to release it and let it go. So take a breath in. Even though I have anxiety about sleep.
Even though I have anxiety about sleep.
I honor and accept myself anyway.
I honor and accept myself anyway.
And I'm open to relaxing now.
And I'm open to relaxing now.
Even though I have this anxiety about going to sleep.
Even though I have this anxiety about going to sleep.
Every night.
Every night.
I don't know what it's going to look like.
I don't know what it's going to look like.
I'm afraid I'm going to be up again in a few hours. I'm afraid I'm going to be up again.
I'm afraid I'm going to be up again.
In a few hours.
In a few hours.
I'm open to relaxing.
I'm open to relaxing.
And changing this story.
And changing this story.
I'm planning for a good night's sleep.
I'm planning for a good night's sleep.
Oops, over the eyebrow. This anxiety about sleep.
This anxiety about sleep.
I'm anxious that I'm not going to sleep.
I'm anxious that I'm not going to sleep.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Another night.
Another night.
I'm just not sure what this night's going to bring.
I'm just not sure what this night's going to bring.
This fear that I'm not going to be able to sleep.
This fear that I'm not going to be able to sleep.
This fear that I'm going to lie awake staring at the clock again.
This fear that I'm going to lie awake staring at the clock again.
Worrying about all the things I can't control.
Worrying about all the things I can't control.
I can't relax knowing that I'll be waking up soon.
I can't relax knowing that I'll be waking up soon.
And this anxiety is making it worse for me.
And this anxiety is making it worse for me.
And I haven't known how to change that.
And I haven't known how to change that.
Until now.
Until now.
I see this as a useless pattern for me.
I see this as a useless pattern for me.
I've needed to worry.
I've needed to worry.
Maybe I don't need to worry before I go to sleep.
Maybe I don't need to worry before I go to sleep.
Maybe I can just relax.
Maybe I can just relax.
Allow myself to wind down.
Allow myself to wind down.
I have been wired to worry in the past.
I have been wired to worry in the past.
But now I'm learning new ways.
But now I'm learning new ways.
I've already started doing things differently.
I've already started doing things differently.
I'm rewiring myself.
I'm rewiring myself.
I'm reprogramming.
I'm reprogramming.
I'm preparing for sleep.
I'm preparing for sleep.
I'm becoming proactive instead of reactive.
I'm becoming proactive instead of reactive.
I have permission to do it better tonight.
I have permission to do it better tonight.
I'm showing up for myself in a whole new way.
I'm showing up for myself in a whole new way.
I'm done worrying for the night.
I'm done worrying for the night.
I've already prepared for bed.
I've already prepared for bed.
I'm getting ready to sleep.
I'm getting ready to sleep.
And I'm letting the subconscious part of me know.
And I'm letting the subconscious part of me know.
I'm safe to sleep.
I'm safe to sleep.
I'm feeling calmer and more relaxed.
I'm feeling calmer and more relaxed.
From the time I go to bed.
From the time I go to bed.
To the time I wake up.
To the time I wake up.
Take a breath in.
Thank you. See, this is what happens. My brain just goes,
right?
Like,
and before you go to bed, that's not a bad thing.
There's no thoughts. I'm just relaxed. All is good.
That's right. Choose rest. Choose rest. Choose peace. Choose sleep. It's awesome.
Julie, thank you so much for being with us. And again, we're going to put these tapping scripts in the workbook so people can come back to them again and again. And thank you for helping us create a good, restful night's sleep. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Always so good to be here with you.
You might have big dreams and plans. You might want to improve your health or even your relationship. But it seems like everything is harder when you don't have a good night's sleep. Sleep is essential to your physical and your emotional health. So today we are going to learn what you can do to create a restful night's sleep. To show us how, we are speaking to Julie Schiffman. So let me tell you a little bit about Julie. Julie is a social worker and an international recognized EFT practitioner. For over 30 years, she has helped thousands of clients break through physical and emotional barriers. Her life-changing YouTube videos have been viewed more than 4 million times. There is a reason people keep coming back to Julie, and it's because she helps you get results. You can learn more about Julie at julieschiffman.com. Julie